to practice because this is what we learned in Dale Carnegie training. It goes something like this. To be enthusiastic, act enthusiastic. Are we ready? And I promise you, if you do not participate, I will sick stand on you. Are you ready? 3 times. To be enthusiastic, act enthusiastic. To be enthusiastic, act enthusiastic. To be enthusiastic, act enthusiastic. Yo! All right. All right, have a seat. Man, I'm ready. Before I really get into what I want to talk about, I want to share my thoughts last night on George's talk about building 1500s. 28 years ago, almost 29. That's exactly what we learned. And I'm so excited to go back to the basics. So my son sent out a little text message, and said, wow, a leadership on Sunday afternoon. He said, old school, and old school works. I'm so excited. I don't know if I'd ever heard the story, maybe I had, about George stretching 600 PV to get in that door. And I think you've been around the business a while, we've all stretched to make something happen at some point. Sometimes to excess, but that's your call. I'm not saying that's what you should do. I remember in Hays, Kansas, they're going to have a 1500 PV leadership and a double diamond was doing it. And I'm thinking, I am going to be there. And I worked, and I worked, and I worked for 6 weeks. And I got cleared at 600 PV. But I was in that room. I duplicated my upline. Because I was going to be in that room no matter what. I'm not saying you do that. I'm just saying that's what I did. Great example, George. And you know what's crazy? Your group, your organization is going to duplicate you, whether you think they know what you did or not. Because it was how many years later that I find out that that's what happened, and that's what I did. So it's amazing how this works. So if you got good habits, your group's going to pick up on your good habits. If your habits aren't so good, guess what? You will be duplicated. So you know what? You want to have a hot group, be red hot. Okay? Anyway, well, let's just share some thoughts here. It's interesting. Prior to January 25th, or January, I guess, of 1985, I was just an ordinary guy. We're an ordinary couple little kids, Marcia being pregnant. And, it was just one of those, had a decent job, making pretty good money back then. Straight commission sales. I liked what I did. I didn't particularly care in my industry, the roofing industry, the kind of people I was working with and what I had to put up with. When you got to pull people out of halfway houses and bail people out of jail to get a crew, kind of wears on you. But you do what you got to do. And I'd fallen into a rut at the ripe age of 32. And it's like, basically, it was go to work, come home, have something to eat. Marcia's always great about having dinner on. We'd eat, watch TV, maybe play with the kids, go to work, come home, and we'd do the same thing over and over and over and over. And you know what I look forward to? Softball night. That's what I want. I couldn't wait. I loved softball. I was a shortstop. Man, I tell you what, the golden glove. So I thought. But see, that's what I loved. The hunting, the fishing, you've heard that this weekend. I loved doing all that. I look forward to all those kinds of activities. But basically, didn't have a dream. I didn't know how to dream. Never even heard the word. I had no idea. I was just like living life and doing the activities that I thought were fun, spending some family time, obviously not near enough, I find out later. But I wasn't wired to think that way. And then on January the 25th, late night, I get in business. That night I met George Pointer. And we stayed up until 4 a.m. Well, he kept me up until 4 a.m. And the guy that he sponsored, who sponsored my sponsor, who sponsored me, my sponsor had to leave. He had a job the next morning. And this happened to be a Friday night. And we stayed up until 4 in the morning. I want to tell you something. He never once talked about how to. He talked about why. He said, can you imagine what it would be like to be free? And he expounded on that, and we chatted back and forth. Man, I was hungry. I was looking. My antennas were up. I was open. And see, prior to that, earlier in January, maybe once in December, I actually sat down with a couple other people. One guy I kind of knew, and one guy I didn't know very well. And I listened to them, but their whole talk was about, they showed me catalogs. And they talked about the corporation and what it was. And they talked about how to do it. And here's what you do. And, that did not excite me. Nothing moved me. But you know what? My upline and then on up to George sat there that night, and all we did was build a relationship. Man, I tell you what, I already knew, I grew up with the guy that he sponsored in a small town west of Wichita. I knew him, but it was so much fun to renew that relationship because it had been years and years, 17 years. And then to meet another new friend who told me, like he tells everybody, you can do this. You can do this. And to sit there and spin a dream and just talk about the lifestyles, got that big smile. I mean, I'm so wiped out, but I'm so excited. I wasn't excited with the other two guys, but I was excited here. And I remember driving home, and it's like 17 degrees out. I got my head out the window just trying to stay awake, trying to get home. And at that point, I had no idea what was going on. I just knew that I was fired up. And so there was a whole different approach. We grew up listening to Dexter Yeager, huge in the business. Dexter says, you got to have a dream. And he says that over. That's all he ever talked about. I remember a story. George went to counsel with him, flies to Charlotte, North Carolina. You know what they do? They get in a car and they drive around and he shows them some really nice homes. And then he drives through the worst part of Charlotte. And they see all the junk and the yuck and the ghetto. And then they drive on out, and now they're back again into Dream World. And of course, George is wanting to know, how do I do this? What do I do? What do I do? I mean, he wants what to, how to, like most people do. And basically, Dexter explained, George, I showed you the dream. I showed you the crap, which you're going to go through, but here's what you end up with. So you got to have a starting point. And wow, that really set with me. I never thought that way. And I remember going out with my upline, my sponsor, and we went out to Garden City because at that time we had to drive almost 4 hours one way on a 2-lane road to get products. Usually George came through, he had a route every week, and he would bring products by. If he didn't go on his route, then we drove out there to get them. And I remember one time going out there and says, hey, come with me, let's take a drive. And we went to some little show, and there was this little motorhome thing. And he says, sit down, let's just talk. So we walk in this it's like a camper motorhome, but I'd never been in one. And he didn't say, wow, look at this. Wouldn't this be awesome to have something like this? And he never said anything. He was just, whatever he was talking about, we were engrossed in what he was saying. And I just started looking around going, it's kind of cool. Wow, it's like a home on wheels. This is neat. And I'm listening to him, but I'm looking. And I didn't realize he was helping to build our dream without telling me that's what he was doing. And so things begin to happen. I remember one night, I don't know, it was pretty early in the business. Now, my sponsor, they were cousins. They had a little business together, and they were living 35 miles southwest of Wichita, a little town, and they were doing some woodworking stuff. And George came through town, stopped at our house at 10:35 at night on like a Wednesday or Thursday night. So, I'm going to work tomorrow. And he said, come on, let's go to Winfield. Now? Yeah. Now? And it's 10:30, George. He says, yeah. I looked at Marcia, and she's like, go. We get in the car, and we're driving an hour, basically, because we're about as far northwest, and they were about as far southeast we could get. So it took an hour to get there. They didn't know we were coming. We were kind of hoping they were there. Well, he knocks on the door, and they said, who is it? He goes, it's a rev check. Like revved up, And I'm like, I don't even know what we talked about. I just remember all the way down, he's talking about life and lifestyle and being free. Because when I first met him, this is pretty cool. Here's a guy 9 months younger than me, doesn't have a job. He's got cash in his pocket, making $10,000 more a year than I am, driving a Cadillac, and he's happy. Man, I was not going to argue with this. I'm like, so how does this work? I didn't get a whole lot of how to. I really didn't. I got it from the audios. I got them from the functions. What I got from him was love, support, and dream guidance, dream building guidance. So he was teaching us three guys, how to begin to look at life where we could be instead of always focus on where we're at. Does that make sense? And there were just little things that took place. He started showing us, he'd always have magazines. And he mentioned these the other night, unique homes. That's one of my favorite. The Rob Report, full of cool cars. But some of these homes, you know what's cool? I know where they were when they started. And they've actually had their home listed in unique homes. That's how nice a home it is. And one of my favorites was one about yachts. You guys ever looked at yachts? The inside of the main galley in some of these mega yachts is worth, they got more money in that room than the Pointers and McAnarneys have in both their homes put together. Just in furniture and decoration, and it's so lavish. I just looked through that thinking, okay, I know these are billionaires, but what if? I got to be honest with you, I wasn't really motivated a lot by things. It was more lifestyle. To have the money, to have the time, to have the freedom that comes with having enough income to be able to do the things you want to do when you want. That's all I wanted. Just freedom, baby. Just no job. You can be motivated by positive, neat things, vacations, all the things that come with, that we talk about, or you can be motivated by negative things. And I wasn't really drawn by big cars and big boats and big homes and, travel, yeah, but not so much things. I just liked the lifestyle part. I wanted out of my job. That's what drove me. So whether it's a positive or a negative, something you're working towards or something you want to get out of, it doesn't matter which one it is. Mine was kind of a combination of both. I wanted out so bad, but I wanted my freedom just as much. And I just figured I do this, I get both. And that was my whole focus. Marsha was so good. Maybe a year and a half into it, it was I was 32 when we started. So about my 34th birthday, we'd heard on old audios, at that time cassettes, write your dreams, write them in a marker on your mirror, write them on the refrigerator, but don't use permanent marker. Take pictures and put them up on your fridge. And if you don't really want to show people your dreams, that's fine. Put up pictures and things somewhere in your bedroom, somewhere where you can see it. Well, Marsha had heard all of this. And on my birthday, she presented me, and I don't know if you're going to be able to zoom in on this, but her version of a dream board, and she made this almost 26 years ago. And I had this up in my closet for years and years and years. I just found it. And it's fishing, nice cars, airplane represent travel, an indoor pool, big, beautiful homes out in the woods, hunting, fishing. This is one of my favorites, sitting on a beach. Here's how much detail I'm not into. I'm not very task-oriented. It actually fell off. When I put it back up, I put it up backwards, upside down. But that's one of my favorite, just laying on the beach. So I still had this. So why not do stuff like this? Why not do what we've heard before and make a list of 100 things you'd like to have or do in your life? If you haven't done that, I'm going to encourage you to do that. It's awesome. Here's what I was learning. Before I can help somebody else develop their why, their dream, help them get excited about whatever it is that they want, what they want to accomplish, the kind of travel they would like to do, I had to do it for me. Because you can't give what you ain't got. And so that began my focus on building my dream so I could help other people build theirs. And what I like about the way we were taught, it was just by example, not by words. And so what'd we do? I remember going out and looking at automobiles, just like we did the other night. Now, I'm not a big car guy. I'm really not, but you know what? I got to thinking about that. Guess what? If money was no object, you write a check for anything, I bet you every one of you drive something different. You'd have more than one nice vehicle. There's been people in the business that got 7 stalls in their garage, and they got 7 cars, one for each day of the week. Now, that would be kind of cool. The point is, if we could do it, would we do it? Of course we would. And if we could change our residence, fix up our residence, get a second residence, would we? Of course. And so I thought, okay, I'm not kind of into all this stuff, but if that's what they say to do, That's what I'm going to do. And it was years later before I really got back to that original feeling that first night we met, the night I got registered. And we talked till 4 a.m. that I realized there was just a seed planted, and it began to grow. And Upline just continued to nurture that all the time. And it was a huge beginning for Marcia's and my business. It was a huge change for me. Because, we didn't think about nice vacation. The only vacation I had ever been on with my parents, ever, all of us kids, ever, was to come back from Illinois to Kansas to visit relatives once we moved up there. That was it. We never went on a vacation. I didn't know what they were. Mom and Dad never went. Oh, once in a while they go on a little trip because of business, but they never took the kids anywhere. So I didn't know that even existed. And so I had to learn that. And I tell you what, some of you in the room, maybe you're with me, I started looking at nice homes. I would find the nice neighborhoods. At that time, there happened to be in the east side of Wichita. We lived on the west side. And I started mapping out routes. And at night, sometimes during the day, but mostly at night, maybe after plans, or if a plan fell through, don't sit home. Go dream. Go look at something. Go drive, go feel, sit in the car, smell it. Get yourself a picture of you in whatever it is that you would love to have, or at least standing beside it. I actually like to go to car lots at night because you don't have to talk to anybody. Yeah, you really can't sit in it, but personally, I don't like taking somebody's time if I'm not really serious. And there's another side to that too. If you're going to take a test drive in something that really fires you up, listen, when you're making $40,000 a year, you don't walk in and say, I'd like to test drive that Lamborghini. And that ain't going to happen. You're probably going to have to prove that you can at least afford it if you decide to buy it. And so I started out a little bit smaller. I didn't have much of a vehicle. And so I'd go look at a vehicle maybe worth half again as much. And yeah, I like to sit in and smell it. Very seldom did I drive one. That's just me. But now homes. Oh, we used to go to homes. Like shells of homes being built, big ones at night. You kind of walk around with a flashlight pointed down. There was nothing to take. It was just the shell, but they said, go walk through these homes and just imagine what it would be like for you. We did that all the time, night after night. I just put somebody in the car and go. Or sometimes I actually went by myself. And then Marcia and I would go to Parade of Homes. And here's a neat one. If you got little kids, take your kids with you. You know what our little kids would do? They'd go running into the house and they would scatter. And they'd be yelling, Mom, Dad, here's my room. This is my room. I want this room. And then, so whoever ran the fastest got their pick. But everybody had their room, and they got so excited. And you know what? You get your kids involved in dream building, they'll hold you accountable. I'm telling you, I remember our 23-year-old, Jordan, was about 7, maybe 8. And man, we were on a roll. Business was cranking. And all of our diamond friends, or a lot of them, had jets and nice planes. And I said, Jordan, by the time you're 14, remember, this is like 6 or 7 years out, we're going to have a jet. Really, Dad? Oh, yeah. Well, it's amazing how fast the years go by. And I forgot all about it. And when Jordan turned 14, he goes, Dad, I'm 14. I go, yeah, I know. Happy birthday. Where's the jet? Ooh. They don't forget. You tell them you're going to take them to Disney World, you better be ready to go. Right? But getting the kids involved, I think, is a huge, huge part of it. Marcia did that all the time. Now, here's something else. When it came to Parade of Homes, everybody wants to run out and look at the $1 million home. We didn't go look at the $1 million homes first. When we got into business, 1985, our home was worth about $80,000. It's a nice home, nice 3-bedroom home, full basement, upstairs, nice house, vaulted ceilings. We liked it. But that was 1985. So we would go look at homes that cost about $150,000. Just out of reach. And maybe we'd look at a home that was sold for $250,000. So what worked best for me is to start our initial dreaming at least a nice step up, maybe a second step up. But a lot of people make the mistake of going to the $1 million home, which is way down the road for the most part. And then they back off and they go to the $150,000 home. It's like, no. So work your way up. That's my suggestion. So we always carried magazines, always talking about the dream. What are some other things that we did? I remember I had a group in Kearney, Nebraska. Now, Marcia and I were probably about 4,000 PV when I started going up there. I probably made 25 trips over the course of a couple of years up to Kearney, Nebraska. Now, from Wichita, 2-lane road, it's 5 hours up, 5 hours back. More than once, I did that in a night because I had to be back. Up there was, I believe it was the second Cabela's ever built. The first one's in Sydney. The original one is in Sydney, Nebraska. And in Little Kearney was a small Cabela's. But man, what a dream builder. 25 times in a row, I walked into that store every time I was there. I walked around the entire store and I just looked and I just drooled and I never bought one stinking thing. There was a term I learned. It's called delayed gratification. And I was not going to do that until we went diamond, period. And I think the big point is here, there was no doubt we were going diamond. I don't think anybody out there was surprised. Oh my golly, the McAnarneys went diamond. No, it was like it was expected. I mean, that was it. We're doing this thing. And I would not allow myself to spend one dime in that store. I'd walk in, they go, hey, Jim. And I would just walk through and I'd take my guys with me. Then in 1991, we go diamond. In late August, early September, I take a trip back up to Kearney. I spent 3 hours that time in the store, and I left $2,300 for all the things that I wanted, all the things that I had looked at, and just paid cash right on the spot. The day that we went to this Freeman's in Atlanta and bought the shoes and the belts and the alligator stuff and the lizard stuff, and they call them skins. I got invited to go along. I didn't realize it was going to cost so much to ride. But it was just something that we had never done before. George and I took the girls and we'd go into this really nice, Lily Rubin's, I believe, in Charlotte, real upscale women's store. When you walk in, you know what happens? You walk in and one gal meets the gals and says, come with me. And the other gal gets us and sits us down on black leather chairs with a glass table and says, can I get you coffee, tea, wine? I looked at George and said, man, it's going to be expensive. They didn't do that at Walmart. They didn't do that at Kmart, man. Sears, Pennies, none of that. It's just little things. I mean, what's fun is you do enough dreaming. What dreaming did for me was raise my belief. The more I looked, the more it got inside of me. So when we're taught to do that, then I in turn learned to teach people to do that. And it's incredible. We all know this. You get really good at something and it starts to work and it works so well, you quit doing it. You ever experienced that? Sure you have. And I'm thinking, if this is a Back to Basic weekend, then that's exactly what we're going to do. Back to building 1,500. Back to leaderships. Back to building your dream, which builds your belief. The more you believe, the more action you'll take. The more action you take, the more results you'll end up with. But it all starts with you. And we have to be responsible. We've heard that all weekend. Accept responsibility for your own growth. And I never did like the word dream. Call it a cause. Call it a want. I don't care. But it's something that we have to do for ourselves. And the more you do, the better it's going to be. A few other things. Oh, this is crazy. I heard this on an audio years ago, and I thought, that's absurd, but I like it. We were maybe silver at the time, 7,500 one time. So our next big goal besides platinum was emerald. Man, we had emerald on the mind. Just about the time we would get ready to hit one goal, we started thinking about the next goal, with diamond being it in my mind. Now, they talked about a toilet bowl cleaner, and it was blue. And you put blue in the toilet bowl, it cleans it. And then you make sure you're eating your double X. And if you eat your double X, and you do it regularly, how many know where I'm going? When you have to use the toilet, what comes out is usually very bright colored, right? Now, what I did not know and what I heard on the audio astounded me. He said, what I found, that was when yellow hits blue, it turns green, and I was thinking about emerald all the time. Go home and try that. Number one, you're going to up your PV. You're going to be getting healthier, and you're going to keep your mind focused on the goal. Yellow and blue shows green. Important stuff here. I've always wanted a home and a watershed lake out in the Flint Hills of Kansas. For those of you who've ever driven through the Flint Hills. I love it. Not many trees, but just rolling grasslands. There's so much game back there. There are so many ponds. Best bass fishing in the world is out in the Flint Hills. And I fished many of these watershed lakes, and they were just so remote. And I used to think, if I could have like a 50 acre watershed, just mine, maybe have a section. And I got to thinking about this, and the more I thought about it, the more I got excited about it. And then I remember actually putting some plans down, and I envision driving into the driveway. You can't see anything. And you got a nice winding asphalt driveway up over crest over hill. And when you crest the hill, whoa, there sits the house. And I added something I thought was kind of cool. These little lights about every 15 feet on both sides of the driveway, that when you drove in at night, they were all activated by motion. And so they'd go on, and 10 seconds after you went by, they'd go off. So as you're driving up a half mile driveway to crest a hill, it goes, just little things like that. And the more I thought about it, the more excited I got. Now, Marcia wasn't excited, because that meant we would drive 2 hours one way, and, the kids are trying to have some sports and ball and soccer and all that kind of stuff. But, I'm still focused on that. I didn't know how it was going to work, but that's what I wanted. And I remember talking to this one personal of ours, somebody we personally sponsored, and I told him about this over and over and over, and then one day, somehow we got an invitation to go out and use the lake to test drive a boat. So the same person I've been telling basically my dream over the last 2 or 3 years turned out to be the person with me the day that we saw the lake, which really worked out because it was 17 miles from our house, or 17 minutes, totally private, 4-lane all the way, and everything was already built. But guess what? Why did we end up with that? It has something to do with the fact that I had something in my mind, a vision, that we were going to have something like this. Now, it didn't turn out to be in the Flint Hills. That's fine. Still got the water, still got the lake. I don't know. Dreams come true, but you know what? You got to dream first. And that's kind of like a prerequisite. There's a lot of things that I could really talk about this. I'm just encourage you tonight to focus on you. You get better, and then you help other people get better in all areas of our lives. I was listening to a CD last week, probably done 12 years ago. I think a lot of you know the author, Reed and Cindy DeVries, one of my all-time favorite best friends and speakers. He was at his uplines, one of their major conferences, and somebody cross-lined from him, another organization, another leg, if you will, of his upline, Double Diamond, had asked his upline if he had permission to speak with Reed. And I'm thinking, that's interesting. And this guy comes up. He'd been working the business, he says, pretty hard. He walks up, he goes, Reed, I've already got permission. He said, I just have to ask you, how can I grow my business? I'm stuck. And Reed's like, whoa. He had never met the guy before. He didn't ask him anything, really. And the guy said, well, what would you suggest I do? What's one thing I could do? And Reed looked at him, and I've never heard this. He said, here's my suggestion. You go out 30 consecutive days, and you touch your dream. I don't care what it is. Maybe it's a gun you want, handgun, shotgun. Maybe it's a new rod and reel. Maybe it's an archery. Maybe it's a vacation. Maybe it's a vehicle. Maybe it's a home. I don't care what it is. Maybe it's jewelry. We just go to jewelry stores all the time. Then we end up in New York City and leave thousands of dollars behind. But it all started because we went to jewelry stores and we just looked. We didn't act like we were going to buy and be big shots. And that guy went off and did that. So he says, okay, I'll do it. He says, you 30 days in a row, every day, you cannot miss a day. That's going to be my challenge when I get done here. Every single day. If you miss a day, you have to start over. He said, 7 months later, they were back at another conference with their common upline. Wasn't thinking anything about it, had never heard a word from this guy. And out of the corner of his eye, on a Saturday evening, right before it started, he catches that guy's eye. That guy sees him, and he nods, and Reed nods. Just acknowledgement, hey, good to see you. Later that night, he walked across the stage as new platinum. And you know, that touched me. Because Reed talked to him afterwards, he gave him a big hug, congratulations. And he said, so what'd you do? He goes, I did what you said. I just went dream building every day. He says, well, then what happened? He goes, I don't know. But here I am, a new platinum. So he went from 4,000 to platinum 7 months later. But he worked on himself, not on everybody else. My challenge is this. Every one of us in this room, including me, I'm challenging myself. This is a talk I'm giving myself. You want to talk back to basics? Go, touch, see, look. Not just in a magazine. Physically, get out and see something somewhere. Touch it. Get a picture of it. Drive by it at least every single day for 30 days. Let's see what happens at Winter Conference. Let's see who's at the leadership on Sunday afternoon, 1,500 and above. I would dare say there's not one person in this room that really has ever done that. Maybe George, I don't know. Certainly not me. But when we were doing the most self-dreaming, when I did the most for me, I would bring people along, but I'm doing it for me, is when we grew leaps and bounds. Maybe there's a message there. I challenge you. I challenge you to come with me. And all of us do this for the next 30 days. Let's see what happens. You guys in? Yeah. No, seriously. No, I mean it. I mean it. Let's see what happens. Love you guys. It's so easy to talk with you guys. You guys got hearts of gold. Marcia made a statement as I was sitting over there, and she goes, wow, everybody is paying attention and dialed in and focused this weekend. There's something different about this weekend. Appreciate every one of you. George and Mel, thank you for your guidance, your leadership, your love, and your support. Let's do it.